Well, good morning and welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to YouTube. I've got my coffee and I'm ready to greet the day. If you don't know me, my name is Martin and I am your host in today's episode. What I thought I would talk about today is I wanted you to get to know me a little better. I've had some folks ask about my upbringing and my family history and all that kind of good stuff. So I thought, well, as we go out and face the day, maybe we'll discuss a few things and I'll tell you about my childhood growing up in small town Alberta. I've had my shower, my shave, and I'm ready to greet the day. My wife told me she's going to give me a haircut later on today. My wife was actually is a professional hairstylist, and she's a journeyman. It's funny because when you think of journeyman, you think of a plumber or electrician or something along those lines. But here in Alberta, I'm assuming most of Canada, to be a hairstylist, you have to be a journeyman. You have to go through the apprenticeship program as well, because you're putting chemicals in people's hair and you're using scissors next to their ear and so forth. So yeah, my hair gets a little bit too long and unruly, and then of course I get hair growing out of my ears and my eyebrows start to twirl up and I look like Shrek. So my wife, I'm already about a week and a half behind, so we'll get that taken care of here this morning as well. But I think I'm going to title this video Who I Am, or Who Am I? A Brief History. So we're going to get on the road here soon, and it actually had a dump of snow, so I had about 3 inches of snow on our vehicles, so I had to go out there this morning and brush that off. But it's 8:30 and I still haven't gotten any orders, so I thought I would address you folks. But I'm going to have my coffee. I've packed a lunch and I packed my thermos full of coffee. We're going to hit the road. I got bananas, a sandwich, and a few snacks, because I don't like to spend a bunch of money out there when I'm trying to make money. Every dollar counts. So, having said that, I will see you shortly. Let's go. And as I'm getting ready to put my boots on, I just wanted to clarify that yes, my wife is a journeyman hairstylist, but she has not worked in that industry in about 25 years. She's, as you know, educational assistant with the school board here in my city. And of course, they're on strike, so she had to go out this morning and hit the picket line. But she cuts my hair and she cuts her mom's hair just to keep her skills up. And fortunately, I haven't had to pay for a haircut in 35 years. So that's a good thing. But yeah, I'm going to get out there right away. Just watching a little bit of some YouTube and waiting for some orders to come in. So we'll hit the road shortly and continue our conversation. Okay, we are going to get on the road now. That's funny, I have a couple of orders way on the south side, so I'll go pick those up first, and they have to be brought back to the north side. So I'll go ahead and do that, and then maybe on the way there, we'll have a conversation about where I came from and who I am. It's kind of a nice looking wintry wonderland here this morning, and it's not cold, it's above freezing, so I expect it'll be a lot of thawing later on today. But you can see the snow gathered on the branches of the leafless trees. So I am getting out of my neighborhood and we will chat there doesn't appear to be that many people on the road this morning. I've got most of the road to myself. But we'll see how long that lasts. Once it starts to get busy and the roads get really sloppy, it will be quite the day. Okay, I've got my camera all set up nice and safe. That way I have both hands on the wheel. And we will have a discussion. So people were asking exactly who I am and where I came from. Let me just show you something here before we get going. I want to quickly show you some more construction going on. It's been going on here for a while now. More condos and businesses going on in my city. Not too far from my neighborhood, actually. So we are heading south to Mill Woods. Anybody who knows where Mill Woods is? As you can see, I have a different hat on today. My wife said, put something else on for a change. I'm getting tired of that same blue hat. So, yeah. So, it's funny that most of my viewers are actually American, from the great United States of America. And my mother was born in America. She was born in a small, at the time, a small town in Washington State called Quincy. Let me fix my camera here so you can see me better. Yeah, Quincy. I'm not sure what the population is now, but it's in Washington State on the west coast there. So she was born in 1926, and then she came back to Canada. I guess her parents, my grandparents, were on her side were happened to be in the U.S. at the time, so she was an American citizen, and then she came to Canada and lived in Canada all her life. So I suppose I could probably become a dual citizen of the United States and Canada. The one reason why I didn't pursue that was because of tax implications, because I understand that Americans have to pay taxes anywhere in the world, even though they live somewhere else in the world, they still have to pay taxes back to the United States. So that's one reason why I didn't, but I don't know. I've always liked the U.S. I've been to Washington, Montana, Idaho, Hawaii, but yeah. So my mother was born in there, and then growing up in the 50s, I guess she got married at a young age. I think she was 21 when she got married, and had 4 children with her first husband. But then, as I mentioned before, he passed away at a young age. He was 35 years old, had a heart condition, and he was out with an old bulldozer somewhere like 1959, 50 or 19, somewhere around there, and he had a valve or something rupture, and he died in November. And they found him lying by his bulldozer, half frozen to death. So that really affected my mother. She was prone to nervous breakdowns and had depression after that. she was quite young, obviously, when that happened. So you're a young mother with 4 children, and your husband dies unexpectedly, and now what? So they had a farm or a ranch. I guess it was 440 acres of land up by Dunster, Tejon Cache, which is in the interior of British Columbia. And when her first husband died, his name was Wesley, she tried to keep the farm going, and she continued to build up the cattle and sheep, hogs, chickens, dogs, and cats. And she built up the farm. And then she hired farm hands, and she took in what they call welfare children. And she had this one farmhand who was about 25 years old. She would have been by this time 35, and she had a fling with this ranch hand. He was a good-looking guy from Norway. His name was Ole. He was from Norway, and they had a little get-together. And lo and behold, 9 months later, I popped out. But yeah, and then she was married. She got married after that to a fella with my last name. So the gentleman who she got married to, his name was Ken. I took his name, but he was not my father. So So my mother, she was married 4 times. Kind of a long story, but she got married again and again and whatnot. But she, I never took his name, so I never really grew up with a father that I really knew. Had a couple of stepfathers, and then going back to the farm there, my 2 oldest sisters they left home really young. I think 16 years old and 17, and they left home. They just didn't want to live under my mom's roof, under her rules, because apparently I wasn't old enough, obviously, to know this, but my mother was not. I don't know if she was abusive or maybe emotionally abusive, and the kids just didn't want to be around her. And then when my mom got married, they eventually moved from. Sorry, I'm going back here. I'm sorry for mixing things up. She eventually sold the farm and the 440 acres that are on part of that mountain where McBride is. I was born in McBride, British Columbia. So fast forward a few years, my mother and her 3rd husband, they sold and they moved to Edson, Alberta. So I remember being in Edson, Alberta as a young kid, 1969, 1970, with my other sister who was still there with me. She was only 3.5 years older. We were really quite close. Her name was Audrey, and we would play and whatnot in Edson, and then we would sneak out of the house and go meet up with some other kids and just have a grand old time. But then eventually my mother got divorced again, and then she remarried a 4th time. It was funny because she met this German fella at a professional wrestling match in Edmonton. It was called the Kinsman Fieldhouse at the time, and they had Stampede Wrestling. Any of you folks watching remember Stampede Wrestling with Ed Whalen, Stu Hart, Bret Hart, went on to become Bret the Hitman Hart, Owen Hart. We knew a lot of wrestlers back in the day, back in 1970, 71. We got to know a lot of wrestlers from that time period. Leo Burke, Tweet Tiger Tommaso, Sweet Daddy Siki. So we became kind of friends in that professional wrestling small group back then. And my mother was an avid wrestling fan, and we used to go also to Edson when the wrestlers would come to Edson. We would go and see them there. But then my mother got married to this guy, and he was physically abusive. And then they ended up selling their property in Edson and moving to Marathorpe. Bought a couple of acres of land and a house. The house didn't have any plumbing, any sewer. So we lived there from 1975. Then she got divorced from that guy in 78, and it was finalized in 1981. And then in Marathorpe, my other sister Audrey, she left home at 16, and she went up to High Level, Alberta, and lived up there. And she's was up there for quite a few years. Got married at 18, and I was left alone. And I was quite sad because my sister and I were really close, and I kind of felt betrayed because we were close, and then she left me behind. But I was only 13 at the time. That was 1976. So, as I had mentioned months before, I always thought I was better off to live under my mother's roof and under her rules than leave and go on the streets, because my brother did that. He was 15 and he left home as well. So I stayed with my mom until I was 22, and then I came here to Edmonton. So I could go into a lot of details, and maybe someday I will, but it would be a long video, and this video is going to be 15 minutes or so as it is. But as some of you might know, I'm a published author. I've written a couple of books and published them, and I've got maybe as many as 10 or 11 other books started, and a couple of those books are loosely based on my childhood. One is called I Still Hear Voices Calling, and that was about my childhood growing up, having having 3 stepfathers, 2 that I knew, and then an abusive relationship, I guess, and basically growing up in Edson, Alberta. Now, I don't mean abusive in the regards to physical or sexual or anything like that, or just emotional, mental abuse, I guess. And then also, I have a book called Just Another Stop in the Road, and that was about me leaving Marathorpe in 1985 and moving to the big city and getting all caught up in the nightclub scene of the 1980s. So it's loosely based on my experiences, because when I came to Edmonton in 85 and met some folks who were models, we used to go to the clubs. And 1986, 87, 88, the club scene here was pretty wild. And 1987, we were in the clubs listening to New Order, Bizarre Love Triangle, and some great songs. And then we'd go to these places. Back in those days, it was, I can tell you some of the wild things that went on. Dancing on the speakers. There was quite the nightlife. But that is another story. So I don't want this video to be too long, but kind of my story was a little bit all over the place here. I apologize. I'm just kind of telling you on the run here, on the go. Nothing I do is scripted, and I think that's why some people like my videos, because I'm authentic. I'm just telling it like it is, or like I see it, or like I've lived it. So, having said all that, if you like my videos, if you like me, and if you like what you hear, and see, please leave a comment, like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Cheers. God bless.